Okay, so in this video, I think it is about time. I think it is about time that I talk about why I don't like futures firms at all. Not only that, but we're also going to look at various perspectives. Not only am I going to give my opinion, but we are also going to get someone else's opinion. The opinion of JadeCap, which has already made more than $20,000 from futures trading, and he has only started like 1 month ago. And he has a very unique perspective on futures firms. And so today we are going to run through the most popular futures firms, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like them and why they are so cheap. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but futures firms, they're constantly running 80% discounts, 90% discounts, 50% discounts, extremely small prices for 150k accounts, 100k accounts, right? I've always been a proponent that if there is something cheap, then you are paying for it in some other way. And that is exactly what you are going to see in these three futures firms. So we are going to talk about My Funded Futures, Topstep, and Apex Trading. And there is one that I really don't like, yet people still seem to go for it. And so I'm going to talk about the positives and negatives of these ones, and then you let me know if you want to see a more in-depth review of all of these firms. So let's jump onto the computer and let's talk about why I like or dislike, because mainly it's disliking, these futures firms. Not only that, but we are also going to talk with Kyle a little bit more towards the end of the video, so make sure to stick around. So in this video, we are going to look at My Funded Futures, Topstep, and Apex. There's going to be a link for all of them in the description, but either way, I'm going to talk about the things that I like and I don't like. And let me tell you, if you want my opinion out of the gate, out of these three, the one I like the least is Apex. This one is the one that I like the least. Now, let's talk about the three companies and let's see what I like and what I dislike on all of these three companies. Let's start off with what all of these companies have in common, and it's basically terrible, at least in my perspective. And that is that they have a very high profit to drawdown ratio, which means you have very little drawdown and you have to achieve a high profit target. And then you have trailing drawdown, which, as you know, is something that I've always advised against. I don't like trailing drawdown, I don't like one-phase challenges, yet all of these companies have exactly that. One-step challenge and trailing drawdown. Now, one of the things that is very important for me to say here, none of the companies paid me to talk about them in this video. I just chose these three because they are the most popular. Now, as I said, let's start off with My Funded Futures. And as you can see, profit target on a 100k account, which makes it simple, is $6,000, which is 6%. The max drawdown is $3,000, which is 3%. The drawdown is calculated at the end of the day, which means that it trails you at the end of the day. If you close a trade and you finish in profit, the drawdown now is all of a sudden going to go up, which means that, let's say if you go into 3% profit and then go back to break even, you just lost your whole account, which I definitely don't like. Now, why are they so cheap? Why is it $140 for a 100k account? Well, that is because of the fact that you have a low drawdown, the fact that it is trailing, the fact that you have a high profit target compared to your drawdown, and also the fact that you have to pay $149 to activate the account once you pass. So let's say that it takes you 2 months to pass this challenge. Yeah, because this is on a monthly basis. Then you pay $140 plus $140 plus $149 to activate the account, and all of a sudden a 100k account costs you $429 with subpar conditions. Now, the good things that futures firms have going for them is that they provide you a high profit split, in that they give you normally $10,000 of your first profits are like completely to you. 100% profit split, and there you go. But even to get a profit split is harder, which right now let's talk about Topstep. Well, Topstep, they have very different things. 6% profit target and 3% drawdown. The drawdown is also trailing, and it's also based on end of day balance. This is also per month, and you also pay the activation fee. Now, one of the things that My Funded Futures has better than Topstep, for example, is that on Topstep, you need to win 5 days. They don't have to be consecutive, and you have to win $200 or more in order to be able to take a payout. This takes us to another bad part of futures trading, which is you can't withdraw all of the profits. You have to keep 50% in, because afterwards they are going to trail your drawdown back to zero, which means that if you withdraw all of the profits, then there you go, your account is gone. You have to start from zero again. And I'm like, oh my god, why are people using this? Like, I genuinely don't get it. But then obviously when you start trading futures, that's when you start understanding it a bit more. But even then, it's like, why would you do this to yourself? And then Apex is even worse. There's one rule that Apex has, which we will talk about soon, that is even worse. Right off the bat, that's how you understand that these companies are making money. They just make so much money from minuscule rules that people don't think about, and then they just get their account breached, or simply limits the upside on the trader so much, which again makes it super profitable for the futures firm. So for example, on my funded futures, they have a consistency rule, which is your best trading day may not exceed 40% of your profit in the funded per payout period, which means that if you have a $10,000 trade and all of your other trades are $1,000, then the $10,000 trade is not going to be compensated. Now with Topstep, you have the issue that you can't even pass on one trade because you have to trade at least 2 days, because your best trading day cannot exceed 50% of your profits to reach the profit target, which means that if you go for a 100k account, that you can't profit more than $3,000 on the challenge on any given day, because again, it will not count towards the profit target. Now, if we talk about Apex, Apex is a completely different beast, because what Apex does is that they trail your drawdown based on your open trades, which means that if, for example, in one of these accounts, let's go down and let's say this 100k account where your profit goal is $6,000 and your trailing threshold is $3,000. Well, if you are up $3,000 on a position and it goes back to break even, you didn't even close it, then you are already violating a rule and you are going to get taken out. And that is why Apex is constantly giving you 80% off, 90% off. And I was always like baffled with how they are able to do this. Then I understood that their business model, it just makes it so hard to profit that it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, from what I have seen, they also have a static plan, which is exactly what you can see here on the screen right now. 100k is static, but guess what? Your total drawdown is only 0.625%, which again is a very little drawdown. The profit target is also small, it's 2%, but given your drawdown, it's actually quite a lot of a profit that you have to achieve. And then they also limit you on how many contracts you can open. Now, is 20 micros enough for futures? I would probably say yes, but I only trade NASDAQ and ES and I don't risk a lot. So I would say that 2 contracts or 20 micros is enough. But this is for you to compare that when you're getting something such as a static drawdown, they have to limit you in some other way because they don't want you to make an exorbitant amount of money. And that is why the lowest probability rules for you to pass, which are also the cheapest challenges and the easiest to pass, they allow you more contracts. They allow you more micros. They give you a bigger threshold. They give you a higher profit target, meaning they make it easier for you to pass, but then there you go, you get slashed again. My funded futures, sometimes they also run the promotion of a static account, and it's normally a 30k account. So as you can see here, static account, profit target is $2,100. You can only trade 2 contracts, which is not great given that I do think that this is micros and minis, and your static drawdown is 1,500. So this one is a little bit better than the Apex one, but again, it's also only a 30k account and you pay quite a bit for it. Now, let's look at some pages that are very important for these firms, which is their payout policy, because that's where they get you. So on Topstep, you have to have 5 winning days of $200 or more. Again, this is a little bit worse for the smaller accounts because they also have this rule. Then if you have 30 winning days of $200 or more, then you are eligible to withdraw 100% of the account at any time. But again, for that to happen, we're talking about 30 divided by 5, which is 6 weeks of trading, and then let's sprinkle in some losing trades and you're already at 7 weeks until you are allowed to withdraw all of your profits. The minimum payout is $125 and a trader may request up to 100% of their account balance. Now this is where it gets tricky because the voluntary closure, if a full 100% payout is requested, the funded account will be closed since the account balance will be brought to the maximum loss limit. And I'm like, bro, this is my money, just let me have it. And they're like, yeah, it's our money too, so you just lose the funded account. And I'm like, oh. So you get 100% of the profits up to $10,000, and then you have a 90-10 profit split, which makes it better than the normal firms. Then on My Funded FX, you have your initial profits up to $10,000 or above are also yours. The minimum withdrawal per payout is $1,000, which is not great given the smaller accounts. It's going to be way more. In the expert accounts, you don't have the consistency rule, but here you do, which means that 40% of your profit can come just from one trading day, which again, it's these small things that they get you with. Then during the buffer zone, you can withdraw up to 60% of your profits with the standard profit split. The threshold will be locked at $0 automatically. What does this mean? Well, this simply means that as soon as you reach profit and as soon as you reach a good amount of profit, they will lock in your drawdown at 0%. What they mean with buffer zone is actually your drawdown. So again, you can withdraw up to 60% of your profits, but either or, the last 40% are your available drawdown. So just keep that in mind. And then what they say is that to have account longevity, which I've understood that that's kind of what futures firms are going for, because if you are an actually good trader, they will provide you with a live account, which is good. But either way, to ensure the longevity and risk management, with a 50K account, you can withdraw up to $2,000, 100K account, $3,000, 150K account, $4,500, which again just limits you on the upside. And I understand that that makes this business model extremely profitable for them, but it's just very, very frustrating how many hoops you have to go through. And that's why I don't understand why so many people love it. I only understand when then I start trading futures on TradingView, because that's actually quite nice. And then on Apex, the first through the third month have to be a minimum payout of $500, and your minimum account balance to ask for withdrawal are 26, 52, well, you can see it right here. So these are a lot of restrictions that they put on you in order to make it harder for you to become a profitable trader with them. Now, there is this whole perspective that you can become a profitable trader with futures firms, and I do believe so. And so for that, right now, we are going to talk with Kyle, JadeCapFX, and ask him how he did it to get a 20K payout from Apex. So now we have Kyle on, and I need to ask Kyle that is already funded with multiple accounts with Apex, and he is one of the people that is okay with the trailing drawdown. His was the first perspective that I had of maybe the trailing drawdown isn't that bad. And so I'd like to bring it to you, Kyle, and ask, why don't you think that the Apex trailing drawdown is horrible?
Well, I'll just throw out the fact that I'm not saying it's horrible or it's not horrible, because intraday unrealized trailing drawdown, I think it is a little bit predatory, but there's two routes that you go about it. Either you can kind of full degen the accounts, right, and just pass the accounts in a day, right? Because I think even some of the promos allow you to pass it in a day. But the other way of doing it is trading extremely conservatively, because since the accounts are so cheap, you can afford to maintain that account and just keep paying the monthly subscription month over month while you're learning. So I guess when it comes to intraday unrealized trailing drawdown, it really forces you to take your profits faster. Like, learning to build that skill set is completely different than a static account where you can kind of just let the trade run forever. So I'm not saying that it's making you a better trader, it's just making you a different trader. It's making you somebody that takes profit faster, that can scalp in and out more quickly, you know, keep the risk extremely tight, etc. Because those are the habits that you have to start building.
How did you personally handle the trailing drawdown on Apex?
I was basically just taking one mini on ES. If I got the one mini and then it moved in my favor, I would adjust my stop and possibly add in. But the amounts they're letting you trade, like as far as contract sizes, you don't need to trade 24 mini contracts. Like, that's insane that they'll possibly let you trade that many contracts. It's just like, it's definitely a recipe for disaster. You don't want to be doing that. So that's pretty much how I handle it. Like, I would start out with one mini. If it moved in my favor, I'm trailing my stop loss, I'm adding in, and then just keep building it from there.
Kyle, thank you for coming on, and I hope everyone took some value from it. I don't know if futures firms are something that I would directly go for, especially if you're not in the US and you can still trade with all of these other prop firms. But here you go. Now you understand why Apex has such low prices, Topstep such low prices, My Funded Futures such low prices, right? So it's important for you to understand these things before you go and do these challenges. You really have to be careful. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you took value from it. Let me know your opinion on futures firms down in the comments. And if you comment with this emoji, meaning you've come this far and you have a good opinion on futures firms, I will personally buy you a futures firm evaluation account. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next week. Peace.